and welcome to Budapest for the 12th round of the Race Spec F1 Esports PS4 Pacific Series Tier 1 League. My name is Expert and I'll be your host for tonight's race. If you haven't figured it out already, we are here in for the Hungarian Grand Prix, one of the more complex circuits that the F1 franchise travels to each year. It can be often compared to as a karting track, as there are a lack of straights and several different types of corners that make up the 4.381 kilometer circuit. There are two main DRS zones located around the Hungarian ring, with one on the main start finish straight and one on the exit of the first turn, all the way down to turn 2, making these two hotspots for overtaking maneuvers. There are 14 corners with 6 of them to the left and 8 to the right. It's going to be an interesting race here this afternoon. I'm sure we'll see a lot of barging around, considering it is one of the hardest tracks to overtake. It's up there with Monaco, to be honest, to get a maneuver done around here. But let's have a quick look now. As you can see, are your drivers' standings. Sorry about that. Zach Crime leads away at the moment, 71 points. He has it separating him and Todd's to MP2 for Williams. So Toddy's actually jumped up a couple of spots, I believe, from the last round. He's up into P2, but he's actually tied points at the moment with 40 in that Ferrari for P2 and P3. So those two are going to be tied. Sorry, my wording right now. These two are in a tight battle for P2 in the championship. Aaron's still right there as well. He's only a couple points behind. So is Extra Evolution in P5. Then it'll be Spilly, who I believe isn't racing here this afternoon. He is in P6 for Racing Point ahead of the Renault of Plebs. Then it is Spilly's teammate of Jay Schmidt in P8. P9 Crossy F1. And rounding out your top 10 is the reserve of Swaggy 291. Romeo Alonso in P11. P12. BSR Oscar, who I believe is not racing here this afternoon, unfortunately, as well. Our contrast 13th, 14th, curving Texas ahead of Pure Gold, BK, Alcatraz, Banana Cake Pie, Toes Rudy, and Shumbo rounds out your top 20. Here are a quick look at your constructors' standings. Mercedes lead the way at the moment, only by around 20, 30 odd points between themselves and Ferrari. So they're not out of this at the moment. They haven't really run away with it as of so far. So Ferrari are definitely still in this. The duo of Crossy and 40 may be able to take a little bit of contention here to the Mercedes team. Racing Point holding on to P3 at the moment, exactly 10 points behind Ferrari. Williams in P4 ahead of Red Bull in 5th, 6th McLaren, 7th Renault, 8th Alfa Romeo, 9th Toro Rosso, and rounding out your top 10 is the Haas F1 team on one singular point. But let's head over now to the main screen. As you can see, the drivers are heading out for their qualifying session. 18 minutes they have to set the fastest lap time possible around the Hungarian ring. I'll bring up the live chat now so I can see you guys talking in it, but let me know as well your top 3 predictions, or even just your qualifying predictions and then your top 3. Banana Cake Pie, full wet race. Okay, so I'm not sure if he's lying there or not, but if that's a full wet race, that's going to make it real interesting, especially for us, the spectator. I'll bring up some telemetry for you guys here. There you go, but it looks like the Williams of Dan the Racer will be one of the first. Actually, no, he won't be one of the first cars out. There's a couple of cars out on track at the moment, but we're going to ride on board with Dan the Racer as he looks to be starting his lap here as he heads to the final corner. Doesn't get the exit that he really wanted to. He's run really wide, so this is going to hurt him all the way down the front. Start finish straight now as he heads into turn 1. Very tight corner, one of the tightest corners as well. I believe La Source is actually one of the tightest first turns in the F1 calendar, that obviously being Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. But now he heads down into turn 2, the second DRS zone available around the Hungarian ring. Runs a little bit wide, very easy to run wide, but you can also do a very nice late apex here if you get it right. But he now heads to turn 3 all the way up to turn 4. Very fast corner and one of the hot spots to invalidate your time on entry and exit as he gets through there nicely. And this is an auto spin curb here on the apex of the corner. You can see he's not really pushing too hard at the moment. It's down the race. It looks like he's just trying to get a lap in as he heads into the chicane. Don't normally want to touch that first curb, but the second curb you want to really bounce over as he heads into the second sector. About to cross over into the third sector line down the short straight that he's heading. Sorry, the exit of this fast right-hander here. Very easy to misinterpret that corner, and you can run a lot hotter through there than what you think. As he now heads into the final sector, goes down the racer up to the penultimate corner. He goes under the Fanatec board, runs a little bit narrow in entry, so it hasn't been the best of laps so far from down the racers. F1 Hawk, 1 minute 22.253. He goes to provisional pole position for Haas. He's the only driver on track that has set a time so far. Does Dan the Racer go fast? He does with an 18 flat, so obviously all these drivers will be going out on the soft compounded tyre if Banana was stating facts when he said that it was a full wet race. So It's going to be an interesting one if it's full wet. I'm actually kind of excited. So we'll try and find another driver on a lap. Looks like Dr. Dre is on a lap as he heads through the final corner now for Toro Rosso. Really struggling with understeer there was the Toro Rosso driver. He goes into P3 now with a 1 minute 18.1 as BK now goes to pole position with the 17 flat. So he's about a whole second faster than Dan the Racer at the moment in that Mercedes team, on that Mercedes car. Curving Texas heads to the penultimate corner now. He has a lot of pressure on him this afternoon to get a really good result for Renault. So he heads to the final corner, runs a little bit wide, doesn't really get back to the apex as I think he would have liked to. Open CRS, he comes up to the line, pole position for the Texan, 1 minute 16.827. He now sits on pole position, 2/10 faster than BKXI's time. So hopefully he can continue that for the rest of the session. Who else is on a lap? We'll try and find someone else. Plebs looks like he's about to start a lap as now 40 jumps up into P3 with a 17.1, but he's on medium tyres, so I'm not too sure if he's actually realised that it is a full wet race. But I'm not too sure what the strategy is anyway with a dry race. But Toes Rudy, 1 minute 17.4 now. He goes into P4. Just ahead of Dan the Razor and his teammate in P5 and P6. As Aaron now exits the pit lane for his first run. He's on the soft compounded tyre, I do believe. He is. And you can see the amount of dirt just on the pit lane there. So that could hurt them a little bit. It's going to have a little bit more work they're going to have to do on their outlaps to try and get all that dirt off their tyres. You saw the spray nearly. Like, it was kind of like spray basically. All the dust coming off the tyres exiting the pit lane. But only 7 drivers have set a lap time so far. Plebs, we're going to ride on board with him as he's invalidated his time. So as we talked about before, it's very easy to do so. He's pushing on though, so we'll ride on board with him as he heads into the chicane now. Runs a little bit wide through the first part, using all the entry curb just to maximize the amount of turning so he can keep the minimum speed up as he heads through this fast right hand. Normally you just want to keep it flat out and just shift it back down to 5th. It normally slows the car down enough, and you can see Toes Rudy pulls off to the right as he heads into the final sector. Now goes Plebs. He's obviously not going to be able to set an official time here, but we'll still get a little bit of a reading at where he's at. Penultimate corner now. You see the pit lane entry on his right and to the final corner. He may even be starting another lap here. I think that's what he's doing. So he comes up to the line. He sets a 1 minute 17.3. So that would have put him into P5 just ahead of Crossy. But it looks like he's continuing on another lap here. So he heads into turn 1. Runs a little bit wide. A little bit of oversteer there for the Renault driver. It's going to hurt him down the short straight. Heading into turn 2 now. Very easy to run it deep and lock the inside front. He just gets a stop there. Doesn't really get to the apex. Uses all the exit available to him. Normally you want to keep it a little bit narrower than that just so that you don't wash off too much speed heading through turn 3, through turn 4 where he obviously invalidated last lap. Into turn 5 he now heads, runs a little bit wide. Obviously you don't want to get too close to that curve, as I said before. It is an auto spin curve. Zach Ryan into P2 now for 16.8 on medium. So I'm somewhat debating now if Banana was lying when he said a full wet race, or I'm not too sure if they've all just said that I'm trying to think what I've said. Or they've just not realised that it will be a wet race, but now they head... So we're... Plebs heads into the final sector under the Fanatec board, into the penultimate corner. Will he be able to match his teammate's time? He's currently sitting on pole position with a 16.827. He's 1/100th of a second faster than Zach Ryan at the moment as he heads through the final corner. Goes Plebs. Will he go to provisional pole position, take his teammate's pole away? No, he doesn't. He only manages P10 there with a 17.6. Obviously, it's not too much off. That's only 0.7 of a second at the moment. And this is obviously his first lap out, by the way. So he's not going to be his best, I believe. He will have a little bit of time to find, as you saw there on that lap. He was running wide a couple of times. Aaron looks like he's finishing a lap. Where does he go? Into pole position now with a 16.2. So he's a little bit quicker at the moment compared to Curving Texas. That's around 5/6 of a second. That's a very nice lap there from the Red Bull, considering that was his first lap. So that's really competitive so far. Jay Schmidt looks like he's starting his lap now. He may have backed out of it. He's on the medium tyres. So I think he invalidated his first lap or his first run, but unfortunately he's going to try and go around, or he's going to try and go back around again on the mediums. He has a Ferrari in front of him. Crossy just gets out of the way. Heading into turn 1 now goes Jay Schmidt. Opens DRS. Very easy. If you run it narrow and exit there, it's very easy to lose the rear, especially if you open DRS and you're still trying to put the power down. Heading through turn 2, Jay Schmidt takes it very tight, runs a little bit wide on exit. And you hear the I don't know what my English is right now. Rear tyres spinning up there on exit as he heads into turn 4. Does he invalidate? No, he keeps it on track, heading through turn 5 now. Keeps it nice and close to that apex curb, heading into the chicane now. Gets through there very nicely there to Schmidt, using all the entry apron, as we saw Plebs do before, heading through the second sector. Very easy to run it out too wide there through that little right-hander into this fast right-hand now, as we just saw there. Schmidt shift down to 5th, as we were speaking about before. He's actually purple through the second sector, so this is looking like a pretty good lap here from Schmidt. It's been one of the cleaner laps that I've witnessed so far in the session, but he now heads into the penultimate corner, just gets it stopped. He's obviously on the medium compounded tyre as well, so a couple of drivers opting to start on that yellow stripe tyre, so it'll be interesting to see what the go is with the weather. But he now comes up to the line. He goes into P10 now with a 17.1. So he's around 8/10 of a second, 9/10 of a second between himself and pole position of Aaron. So Banana, it's definitely a wet race. Can you confirm that for us, please? Because a couple of drivers are on the mediums, but anyway. So we're going to go through your order now. We're still waiting on Tao and Berger to settle up. I think Berger's having a few internet issues, so hopefully he can resolve those. But Aaron sits on pole position at the moment. Cup around 6/10 of a second separate himself and Curving Texas in P2. P3, Zach Crane, who's coming out of the pits now for his second time lap. Extra Evolution in P4 for McLaren ahead of BKXI in P5. P6 will be the Alfa Romeo of Romeo Alonso ahead of 40, Breno, Todster, and F1 Hawk. Round out your top 10. Jay Schmidt in P11, P12, Banana Cake Pie ahead of Crossy, Toes Rudy. Plebs rounds out your top 15. Dan the Racer 16th, and Dr. Dre, the last of the drivers so far that have set a lap time. Very Lazy Towel and Berger are still yet to do so, so hopefully they can get out in this session. They're waiting quite a while so far, so we'll have to see when they opt to come out of the pits. You can see our current pole position man comes out of the pit lane. Crossy now P2 for Ferrari with the 16.4, 2/10 off Aaron's time. So that's a pretty good lap there from the Ferrari driver, showing some strong pace here this afternoon are a couple of the drivers. Them being Curving Texas, Crossy. BK is doing actually a pretty good job in P6 at the moment. So what will he be able to do? He's about to come, well, he's heading through the final sector now, is BK. He's about to come around to start his second flying lap. Toes Rudy now into P4 ahead of Todster, who just goes into P3 now for Williams. So he goes 1/100th of a second, 1/1000th actually faster than Toes Rudy's time there, but now 40. Just as we are talking about Todster and Toes Rudy, goes to pole position now with a 16.1, but if I'm correct there, it's looking like it's actually starting to rain on our screen, so that's a bit interesting. Now, for the qualifying session, it looks like it's starting to rain. A little bit of raindrops I thought I just saw on the screen there. As you can see, there is raindrops. As you see at the bottom left of your screen there, you can see a little bit of rain coming up on the lens here. So everyone needs to get out of the pits at the moment to set a lap time before it does start pouring down. But it looks like Aaron's out of the pits. I think Zach Crime's on a lap. We're going to ride on board with him as he heads through the second sector. Does keep it on track there. I thought he would have been validated. Heading through this fast right-hander, just keeps it within the track limits. Heading into the final sector. Had a purple second sector, I believe. Into the final sector he now heads. Final corner goes the Mercedes driver. Will he be able to bag pole position here this afternoon? 5 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Opens the ERS. No ERS left in that tank, but will he go to pole? He does with the 15.8 now. 3/10 of a second faster than 40 times. So the first driver now into the 1 minute 15s is Zach Crine. So that's a very nice lap down. I'm not too sure if anyone will actually be able to beat that because it is starting to rain a little bit now. Only very lightly, so it may not affect the drivers too much. Aaron, I'm not too sure if he's up on his time at the moment. He's actually 4/10s up, so it's actually going to be pretty tight now between Aaron and Zach Crine as they now head through the final corner. Does Aaron? Gaming Burgers fortunately joined the session back, so hopefully he can get a lap in, but Aaron comes up to the line, does go to pole position with a 1 minute 15.843, 5/10 of a second faster than Zach Crine. So not 5/10 of a second faster, sorry, 5/100ths of a second faster, so only just faster than Zach's time, so it's very tight at the moment between Zach and Aaron. And both the Ferraris have got themselves up onto the second row as well, so they're doing a mega job at the moment, is the Scuderia team. Plebson's now got himself up in a P5 with a 16.3. Todster holding on to P6, who's obviously in the pit lane at the moment, so is Rudy. BK Looks like he was not able to improve on his time, unfortunately, so he'll be trying to get back around to the pit lane to set another lap time later on in the session. I'm going to bring up a track map real quick just so I can see all the corner numbers. Here we go. Actually, no, that's the wrong track. Revolution looks like he's on a lap as well. He was leading the championship for the first couple of rounds, was the Bahrain driver. Obviously, he had a very, very tight battle at the Bahrain Grand Prix with our current championship leader of Zach Crichton at the end of the race. My voice was pretty much gone after that, so it was a very tight race there between what it looked like to be the two title contenders for the season, but unfortunately with Revolution, he had a couple of races he unfortunately missed and DNF, so that really hurt him in the standings. And Zach's now got a massive lead compared to everyone else. My English right now is atrocious, but anyway. Revolution, final corner. What time will he be able to do? He's currently sitting on a 16.9, but he was obviously on the medium tyre at that time. Where does he go? P3 now for 15.9, so now he's the second driver to get himself up into the 1 minute 15s. So the third driver to get himself up into the 1 minute 15s. It's still pretty tight though between himself, Zach Crichton, and Aaron. There's nothing in between it. A tenth of a second separate the top three at the moment. Well, less than a tenth of a second actually. So I'm trying to bring up a track map so I can see the corner numbers. So it looks like it's just spitting at the moment. It doesn't look like it's... Yeah, you can just see after a while or every couple of seconds you can see a little raindrop just appearing on our lens. A lot of the drivers now heading out of the pits. As you can see, that's Crossy exiting the pit lane. Is that Aaron as well exiting the pits? No, it's not. It's actually Banana Cake Pie. So Banana's down in P15 at the moment. He's going to be wanting to improve on that time. Hopefully get himself into the top 10, as the top 10 are all on that soft compounded tyre. Romy Lonzo on the mediums, and so is Jay Schmidt. So they have still yet to set a lap time on that red stripe soft tyre. Hopefully no Renault late dive bombs into turn 1 Banana Cake Pie this time. Well, he's at the rear of the grid, so he might cause a little bit of carnage, especially if it's wet. It's going to be very interesting between Zach and Aaron. Yeah, we'll have to see how they go, especially if it's going to be a wet race. I have to see how each of the drivers go. I'm not too sure about their wet weather skills, but Extra Evolution now looks like he's starting another lap. He went back into the pit lane pretty quickly there, did the McLaren driver, but he heads into turn 1. We're right on board with him as he heads into turn 1. Gets it stopped nicely. A little bit slow to get on the gas. Turned it in a little bit early. But he still manages to get around the corner nicely into turn 2. Keeps it nice and tight, which I think is the more ideal line. Got a little bit of wheel spin there on exit of turn 2. But he managed to keep it together. Turn 4 into turn 5. He now heads. Very easy to turn it in a little bit early there and spin the car on that auto spin curve heading into turn 6 and 7 of the chicane. Don't want to use too much curve on the first part, and then the second part you want to absolutely mount the curb using all the entry apron, as we've seen a couple of drivers do. Looking like a pretty promising lap here from Revolution. It might be a bit of improvement. We'll have to see. He's about to cross the third sector line. There's the up on his time. He's 2 tenths up at the moment, so he's looking like he could go to pole position here potentially. Is Extra Evolution. I think his last pole position was Australia, I believe. It was in round 1, so he'll be he'll be more than ever eager to get pole position here this afternoon as he heads through the final corner. What time will the McLaren driver set? He goes to pole now with a 15.7, so that's over a tenth faster than Aaron's time. So Aaron and Zach Crichton are going to have their work cut out for them this afternoon here, trying to beat the McLaren driver's time. Curving Texas now into the top 5 as well with a 16.1, so it's very tight at the moment between our top 5. Crossy's 4, not as close at the moment to the top 5 as I think he would like to be. I think he may have invalidated his lap time there, but he now heads up to the final corner. He'll be trying to start a lap now as he's got Banana Cake. He's actually run out of time here, unfortunately, so Banana Cake Pie's not going to... Actually, he does, so he only manages P12 here, does Banana Cake Pie. He sets a 1 minute 16.8 on that soft compounded tyre, so he will be starting out of the top 10 for the Grand Prix. Crossy has only managed to get P7 as we saw before. Who else is on a lap? Let's go on board with Zach Crichton as he now comes up to the line. Well, through the final corner, opens DRS. Is he up on his time? He only manages P2 with an 15.8 there, did Zach Crichton, so wasn't able to get into the 1 minute 15.7s, What is Aaron going to be able to do? He's heading through the final sector. He's the 10th up, so will he be able to contend for pole position here? Didn't get that corner very good there, so that really could have hurt him. As he now heads up to the 3rd sector line. Is he up on his time? He's actually lost a lot of time making that little error there. Did Aaron, so that's going to hurt him as he heads into the final sector now. Through the penultimate corner he heads. Slight lock up there on the inside front, so this could hurt Aaron here. And he's now lost it as Aaron, so his pole my English right now is something else. His pole position chances have gone straight out the door. He's lost his front wing, so unfortunately for Aaron, he's going to settle for P3, but it looks like your qualifying grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hungarian. See, my English right now is absolutely atrocious. Hungarian Grand Prix. I don't know what I'm saying. Extra Evolution takes pole position ahead of Zach Crichton in P2. They will round out your front row. Aaron L3F4 in P3. P4 40-22 for Ferrari. P5 will be Todd Star. Alongside him will be the Mercedes of BKXI. P7 curving Texas. He'll have his teammate alongside him in P8. So Renault doing a pretty good job there, as well as Mercedes. So BK's done a really good job there to get himself up into the top 6. Romeo Alonso will be P9 for Alfa Romeo, and rounding out your top 10 will be Crossi F1 for Ferrari. So it looks like it's going to be a tight race here this afternoon. Let me know in the live chat your top 3 predictions as well. Crossi's got a pretty nice helmet there, I'm not going to lie, but it's going to be a wet race if Banana Cake Pie wasn't lying to me. But as you can see there, 2/10 of a second separated our top 4, so that's really tight between our drivers. We'll go past your top 10 as we read them out before. Toes Rudy will start from P11 for Toro Rosso ahead of his sister teammate Banana Cake Pie in P12. Then his actual teammate Dr. Dre in P13, P14 Breno for Haas leading his teammate F1 Hawk in P15, P16 the Racing Point driver of Jay Schmidt, P17 Dan the Racer, P18 Very Lazy Tail, who unfortunately failed to set a lap in this session, so he will be starting from the rear of the grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix. As I just said, let me know in the live chat now your top 3 predictions for the Grand Prix. We'll be back with you shortly as we let the drivers now head over to the grid. As you can see now on your screens, the drivers are heading out for their formation lap around the Hungarian, and as Banana Cake Pie said earlier in the stream, it is a full wet race, so he wasn't lying. I thought he was lying for a little bit, but anyway, it's really wet at the moment. As you can see, all the drivers are on full wet tyres, so it won't be drying up anytime soon, so we'll have to see how each of these drivers can manage in the wet conditions. We haven't really had a full wet race yet, I believe. We've had a couple of intermediate races, I do believe. I can't remember which ones, but I definitely remember there being an intermediate race. I don't think there's been a full wet race yet. So this will give us our first little insight and see how quick the drivers are in these really slippery conditions. But quick reminder for you here as well. Extra Evolution took pole position ahead of Zach Crichton. These two were the ones that looked like they were going to be battling for the championship early on in the season. But unfortunately, Revolution, as we said before, just unfortunately missed a few races, and a few DNFs here and there just cost him the championship. He's all the way back down to P6 now, I believe, in the standings. So that's allowed Zach Crichton to take a 71-point gap between himself and Toddster in P2 in the standings. Aaron will come home will qualify P3. He'll start on the second row alongside 40-22 in P4. P5, Toddster currently sitting in P2 in the championship. BK in P6. He'll be looking to make a statement here this afternoon, see if he is able to keep up with his teammate of Zach Crine in P2. Curving Texas in P7, leading his teammate in P8 of Plebs. P9, Romy Alonso, and Ranier, your top 10 is Crossy F1. P11, Toes Rudy. P12, Banana Cake Pie, Dr. Dre, Breno, F1 Hawk, Randate, your top 15. Schmidt down in 16th, 17th, Dan the Racer, 18th, Very Lazy Tao. And unfortunately for the Gaming Burger, I believe he is lagged out from the session, so Tao will be rounding out the grid for McLaren. Didn't set a qualifying lap as well, so he's opting to start from the rear of the grid for this race. We'll have to see what he's able to do, as he will be the last driver to form up on the grid. Let me know some more predictions in the live chat as well. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream, and also thank you guys so much for 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel as well. It's been a massive achievement in just under 9 months, I believe. We've got over 500 subscribers, so that's been a massive achievement, so thank you guys so much for that. But it looks like the light sequence is now beginning for the drivers. 5 red lights ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And we are underway. BK drive-through penalty already, and looking at a mega start. Here's BKXI. He definitely jumped the start there. Did BK? That's Haas in the wall. Massive crash at the rear of the grid. Bruno's out of the race, but BK leads him into turn 1. Obviously, he did get a drive-through penalty in the safety car in this Grand Prix already. So BKXI, the first, and I believe this will be the last time I actually say this, BKXI leads the Grand Prix. Extra Evolution in P2 ahead of RNL3 F4 and P3. Zach Crine P4, 40 P5. Who's actually trying to decide here with Zach Crine who was leading, but they're still going side by side. They're not sure who was actually leading the way out of those two. Todd's in P6, but let's go back down to this battle to see what happened. It was definitely F1 Hawk that got caught in it. We saw the Haas go straight off into the Armco. Plebs, I think, was involved in that, unfortunately. So was Dan the Racer. So unfortunately for Plebs, it looks like he's got massive front wing damage on that Renault car. He's going to have to come into the pit lane. Does he have damage? It might just be a bit of content. Yeah, he does have right end plate damage here. Does the Renault driver. He can't catch a break in this league, unfortunately, Complebs. He always seems to get first lap damage, but I don't think I really wasn't thinking I'd be saying BKXI would be leading after turn 1, but anyway. I'm not too sure. Can you serve a drive-through penalty under safety car? That's not something I really thought about, but he's really backing him up here as BK. He does have a drive-through penalty he will have to owe. So I'm not too sure if he can serve it under safety car. Hopefully someone in the chat can remind me what the rules are. I'm honestly not too sure, but 40 and Todster still going side by side. You can see down the back, the two Toro Rossos have done a pretty good job here, getting themselves both into the top 10. So will BK come into the pit lane this lap? So it would probably be the smartest thing to do if he's allowed to. No, he actually continues, so he will form up behind the safety car. I think he just wants to lead a lap, to be honest. You see, he's really just walking around the circuit at the moment. He's making sure that he doesn't spin out the car unnecessarily, but there's a lot of drivers in the pits. As you can see, over 6 drivers into the pits, them being Crossy, Banana Cake Pie, Jay Schmidt, Racer, so Dan the Racer, Plebs, F1 Hawk, and Breno, unfortunately, will be the first retirement from the Grand Prix. He's will DNF the race down in P19, so unfortunately for both Haas boys, that's really unfortunate for them. But as we said, Zach Crine, the real loser out of the start there. He's lost the car. He's lost 5 positions off the start of the Grand Prix. Obviously, BK did jump the start, so he didn't have much control over that. But he's lost the position of 40 and Todster and Aaron off the beginning of the Grand Prix. So he's not going to be too happy with himself there in that Mercedes car. He's currently got his teammate leading. So basically, the two Mercedes are pretty much swapped. But BK's actually gained more position, so they haven't really swapped. So I don't know what I'm saying there, but anyway, BK leads away. In IRL you can't, but in the game I'm pretty sure you can. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see what he does. He's staying out though, so I think he really just wants to lead the pack, to be honest. I'm not too sure. But he definitely does have a drive-through penalty he will have to owe here this afternoon. There's going to be a lot of debris on the front straight of the track, so the officials, all the marshals will have to go clean that up. So we could see a couple of laps here under safety cars. You can see Plebs will be at the rear of the grid, unfortunately for himself. As you can see him heading through the chicane. It's absolutely horrendous conditions here this afternoon at the Hungaroring. We'll make it for an interesting race, but we will be going for another lap under safety car conditions here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. We are currently on lap 2. We will start lap 3 when they cross the line. Yeah, definitely the talking point was Zach Crichton there. He's lost a couple of spots off the start there. He's already down 5 spots from his starting position. And his teammate's all the way up into the lead, so he will not be happy with himself. Curving Texas is sitting in P7 at the moment. He's currently held onto his position. Romy Alonso's up a spot. Toes up 2 spots. Dr. Dre's up 3 spots. So both the Toro Rossos have had a pretty good start here to the Hungarian Grand Prix. Tao's up 7 spots from this Grand Prix. He just kept his nose clean at turn 1. Didn't get in any trouble, and he's already up to P11 from the rear of the grid. So he's done a really good job there. Has a McLaren driver crossing in P12. B13 will be Banana Cake Pie ahead of Dan the Racer in P14. 15th F1 Hawk, Plebs 16th. Schmidt in 17th and 18th. Unfortunately, I think he will not be classified as a gaming burger. He has disconnected from the session, I believe. So I think we'll see safety car into the pit lane this lap. You see it's going really slow at the moment as a safety car. BK's really trying to push it here. Needs to get some tyre temps. So we'll have to see what BK does here. If he plays some games, he may even just come straight into the pits. I'm not 100% sure. ACW reckons you can in the game, but you're not allowed to in real life. That's what I thought. You can't do it in real life, but I'm not too sure if you can do it in the game. So we'll have to see what the Mercedes driver does, but he is technically not leading the way. Revolution's provisionally leading the way at the moment after penalties have been served. Let me know some more predictions in the live chat as well. I'll happily read them out and stream. But it looks like the safety car's staying out for another lap here, so... Or is it staying out for another lap, or is it starting to pull away? I'm not too sure, because I didn't see the notification at the bottom. So I think it has pulled away. The lights are off on the safety car. So BK will lead them now. As you can see, the safety car on the top right-hand side of your screen, pulling into the pit lane at the Hungaroring. He now heads through the final corner. Goes BK. When does he put the gas pedal down? No overtaking is permitted until you get to the straight. So the start-finish line, you can see there, go, go, go. As you can see, BK got a pretty nice start there. Extra Evolution will have a very nice run heading into turn 1. The McLaren driver down the inside. Zach Crichton also defending position there from Curving Texas. But Revolution down the inside now on BKXI heading into turn 1. The McLaren driver gets the job done. BK is now starting to feel a bit of pressure from Aaron behind. They're going to go side by side heading into turn 2. Will BK try and stick his nose down the inside of Revolution? He's hit the curb on the inside. He manages to collect the car, though he's trying to keep his nose there with the Extra Evolution, but he's going to have to slot back down into P2. Aaron's going to try and get a move done on BK for P2 as well. He's holding on to P3 at the moment. Is the Red Bull driver. 40 in P4. P5 Todstar. Zach Crichton still in P6 at the moment. Texas is right there trying to take any advantage of these guys making a mistake, but as you can see how close all these guys are at the moment. Obviously Aaron needs to get past BKXI because he does have a penalty BK has to owe, and obviously he's holding this whole train up. So BK... Well, Aaron will not be happy with BK at the moment. We'll have to see what he does. Will Aaron be aggressive? Obviously, it's very hard to be aggressive in these wet conditions. Very easy. Well, it's very easy to be too aggressive, I should say, in these wet conditions. But Extra Evolution already a 1.4 second lead. Obviously, DRS is not available to the drivers as the conditions are not suitable for it. As they now head towards the end of lap 4. The driver's trying to find a grippier line around the track. It looks like all the drivers have kept it clean as well. Jay Schmidt's actually dropped down to P17, so does he have damage on that racing point car? He does, I think, unfortunately for Schmidt. He's coming into the pit lane. Not too sure if he has damage or he's just trying to... It doesn't look like he has damage, but anyway. Well, Aaron Joe down the inside, he is, so now he's trying to make a move here on BKXI. BK doesn't want to give the position up though. It will switch to the inside line when they get to turn 3 though. So turn 2, he's going to try and fight it down the inside. He nearly makes contact there with Aaron. Now 40 is going to go around the outside, then 3 wide, hitting through turn 2. And then make contact there. It's Aaron and BK, but that's a move of the race there from 40. He's got 2 positions around the outside. He just did a double maneuver around the outside there at 40. I think BK actually got a little bit of a hit there from Todstar behind in the Williams. So Toddy's really frustrated at the moment. He needs to get ahead of BK if he wants any chance of getting on the podium here this afternoon. He can't let these top 3 run away with this race. Zach Crichton also needs to really get a move on here if he wants any chance at winning this Grand Prix. He's right behind the Williams of Todstar. Curving Texas is right there as well for Renault. Romy Alonso in PA P9. Toes Rudy leading his teammate of Dr. Dre in P10. And now Todser looks like he's going down the inside on BK. They do make side pod contact. Todser didn't give him much room there, so I don't think BK will be too happy with that. But now it also lets his teammate get ahead of him. So will BK, I think the smart thing for BK would be coming in, serving his penalty like now. And now Zach going down the inside. Oh, Todser, they make contact. Dude, Todser and Zach Kreiner look like a very late lunge here from Zach Kreiner. He's really been super aggressive at the moment. Is the Mercedes driver. He needs to get ahead of Todser if he wants any chance of catching these front three. Will he dive down the inside? No, he goes to the outside line, back onto the racing line. As Todser did defend the inside line, his teammate nearly made contact with him there as they head into turn one. Texas trying to make a move here on BKXI as well. He's trying to set it up. Will he have the nice momentum heading down into turn two? He doesn't have the braking ability though. Heading into turn two in that Renault car, so he's going to have to slot back behind that Mercedes for another lap. But Zach Crichton really struggling here at the moment to get ahead of the Williams in front of him. 2.4 seconds already between Todser and Aaron, so that's how much time they've already lost, and 2.5 seconds between 40 and Revolution. So these two, Revolution has absolutely blitzed the field already. 29 laps remain in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hungarian. Kevin Texas down the inside now on BKXI, heading into the chicane, and he gets the move done up into P6 now. Goes the Renault driver. See, now he has his eyes on Zach Run in front of him. Hopefully, well, he'll be wanting those two of Todser and Zach to start battling so he can catch up. You see BK's made a little mistake there. Romeo Alonso trying to go around the outside now. Heading into his right hand and down the inside, and he's made contact there with the Mercedes, and so is Toes Rudy. He's trying to force him out of the way. There has the Toro Rosso driver, but he's going to go around the outside now. Heading into the penultimate corner. Will he be able to get the move done? They're really tight to making contact, but you can see the spray coming off all the cars. And now Zach Run into the pit lane, so that's very interesting. Is that Zach or BK? No, it's BK, sorry. I thought that was Zach. So now BK's coming into the pits to serve his drive-through penalty. I think he should have served it a little bit earlier, to be honest. Maybe the lap before, just to get himself out of that battle pack. But Revolution still leads away ahead of 40. Aaron Todser, Zach Run in P5 ahead of Texas. Toes Rudy, who's now making a move now on Romeo Alonso, gets the move done into P7. He now heads. Dr. Dre is going to have to try and follow his teammate here, but he does have Crossy right behind him as well. And there's a massive battle pack here between Banana Cake Pie and Very Lazy Tao. Down the inside, Tao goes, but it will swap to Banana Cake Pie's inside line, but he doesn't have the grip in that Red Bull car to keep the move on. And now Plebs is right there as well, trying to put as much pressure on that Red Bull car in front, waiting for either of these guys to make an error. Dan the Race is trying to catch up to that paddle pack in front of him as well. Massive train here, led by Romeo Alonso. Toes Rudy starting to blitz him. So Romy really struggling at the moment on that wet tyre, or in these wet conditions. I'm surprised. I don't believe I've seen any penalties yet, so that's very interesting. Normally you get penalties pretty easy at those chicanes around here, but Extra Evolution now 1.8 seconds separate himself and 40, so 40's actually catching up to Extra Evolution. Aaron's actually lost a bit of time now, 240s. Was within a second between himself and the Red Bull driver, but unfortunately, himself and the Ferrari driver, but unfortunately he's lost a bit of time. Todser is trying to catch up to Aaron in front of him here in that Red Bull. Zach Run will be in the slipstream, obviously, of Todser. 40 now goes fastest with a 33.8, so that's a massive signal there to Extra Evolution, letting him know that he is catching up. Kevin Texas trying to catch up to Zach Krein. He's pretty lonely at the moment, heading into turn one. They all go. Will the Ferrari of Crossy make a move? He thought about it. Wasn't able to get it done now. Who's that? Player's making a move now on Banana Cake Pie, heading into turn one. Banana did cut him off though. Ples wasn't really down the inside of the Red Bull driver though. Wasn't really deep enough under brake, so he's going to have to sit behind that Red Bull driver again. As you can see, this massive battle pack here. I'm surprised none of these guys have made massive contact as of yet. As you can see, Dr. Dre really holding up Crossy here. Crossy right on the rear, and that's F1 Hawk out of the Grand Prix. Down at P17, he's in the pit lane, so unfortunately for him, he's got terminal damage in this race, so he will not finish the full 35 laps here this afternoon of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And you can see 40's already got that gap down to 0.5 of a second, so 40 proving to be the next Max Verstappen here. Really strong in the wet conditions. As they now head into the final sector, go our race leader. So 40 looking really quick here in these wet conditions. He's caught up to Extra Evolution. He's caught about a second in 2 sectors to Extra Evolution. So it's either the McLaren driver's really struggling or 40's just so much quicker compared to him. He's just found that grippier line. Obviously, has 40. Will he try and make a move here? Heading into turn 1, he's not really close enough. It's not worth risking it. It's only lap 9 of this Grand Prix. Aaron's really falling off the train here for the lead of the Grand Prix. Toddy's trying to catch up, as we said before. So is Zach. He's also fallen off the train of Toddster. So he's not proving to be real strong in these wet conditions either, is Zach Crichton, our current championship leader. Obviously, Extra Evolution will be wanting to take home a nice handful of points here this afternoon as that Plebs gets a move done on Banana Cake Pie. Heading through turn 1, the Renault driver up into P12 now after a pit stop he had to make at the beginning of the Grand Prix. Due to front wing damage to the Renault up into P12 now. He has his eyes on Very Lazy Towel in front of him in P11 as he runs really wide at a Towel. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a warning. Crossy's still struggling to get ahead of Dr. Dre. Now Toes Rudy and Romeo Alonso have all been caught by this train here. We'll go back to this battle for the lead of the Grand Prix between 40 and Extra Evolution. Obviously, Ferrari are currently sitting in P2 for the constructors' standings at the moment. So, if Crossy can get home or take some solid points here this afternoon and 40, they'll be looking good to potentially overtake Mercedes team here. Obviously, only one Mercedes driver is in the points at the moment. BK down in P15. After that jump start, he had to serve a drive-through penalty to the Mercedes driver. Zach Crichton, obviously in P5 at the moment, really struggling to keep up with the driver in front of him of Toddster, as he now goes fastest as Toddster with a 33.7. So he's starting to catch up now to Aaron. He's got that gap down to under a second. But 40 seems to be just holding put here. He doesn't really seem to be pushing too hard behind that McLaren driver. But Toddster's definitely catching up to Aaron, so could see a little battle here starting to spice up for P3. Now Banana Cake Pie and Plebs are swapping positions. To the battle for P12. Banana trying to fight it back on the Renault car. He's going to go around the outside. Will he do the switchback maneuver? He doesn't. So Plebs holds on to P12 now. And unfortunately for BK, I believe that was, he made a little error on the exit of the final corner. He's lost a lot more time now to Jay Schmidt in front of him. But that little battle there between Banana Cake Pie and Plebs is not over. Banana must have got a really nice run on Plebs heading through the final sector. Well, final section of corners, and now as you can see, it's the Toro Rosso of Dr. Dre. He spun round, heading through that fast right hand. He just ran a little bit too wide and a little bit too deep into the corner, and unfortunately he's dropped all the way back down to P14. He was running in points paying position, so unfortunately for him, that's kind of ruined his chances here unless the drivers in front of him make mistakes. The Revolution's actually started to pull away a little bit now from 40 in front of him. As they now start lap 11 of 35 in the Grand Prix. So 40's actually lost a lot of time here, so I'm not too sure what the go is with 40. He's got a lot of VRS available to him, so he's not really using it at the moment. So he caught right up to the gearbox of Extra Evolution, but unfortunately he's just lost a lot of time there. Romeo Alonso and Crossy have also swapped position, so into P8 now goes the Ferrari driver finally. So now he has his eyes on Toes Rudy in front of him. This is for the battle of P7. Kevin Texas is running a pretty lonely race at the moment in P6. Zach Crichton in the same boat. He was right on the rear of Toddster, but Toddy seems to be a little bit more confident in the wet conditions. So the top four are actually all converging on each other now between Extra Evolution, 40, Aaron and Toddster. Zach hasn't really caught up to that train yet, so he's got a little bit of work he's got to try and do. Doesn't have the pace, as you can see in that Mercedes car. He runs really wide there, heading through that fast right hander. Who's really struggling at the moment is Zach Crichton. So we've had two retirements from the Grand Prix, them being F1 Hawk and Breno. Toddster now goes fastest again with a 33.7, so the Williams drivers really catching up now to Aaron L304 in front of him, but Aaron's also catching up to 40, so I wouldn't be surprised if 40's actually started to cook his tyres. The drivers will most likely have to make a pit stop here this afternoon to put on a fresh set of tyres. Now Crossy down the inside on toes ready. He's really caught up to the Toro Rosso now, has Crossy, and he's got the move done. A lap after making a move on Romeo Alonso, so he's looking pretty quick here, is Crossy. He'll be wanting to take home some good points here for Ferrari with his teammate 40, who's currently sitting in P2. So I have to watch this battle now between Toddy and Aaron. Aaron's really struggling. Well, I don't think he's really struggling. I think Toddy's just a little bit quicker than him at the moment. He has a little bit more confidence in that Williams car in the rain. The top four are definitely all converging on each other, but unfortunately they just can't really get close enough to each other to make a move. I don't think it's down to dirty air. I think it's just more... They just can't really see much, to be honest. You can see the amount of spray coming off the cars in front. Extra Evolution will be fine because he has no cars in front of him, but the likes of 40, Aaron, Toddstar, they're all going to be struggling a bit here. Zach Crichton finally responds with the 33.7, so now he goes fastest. Not by much though. All the drivers have been setting 1 minute 33.7s, as now Crossy goes fastest with the 33.6, so he's trying to reel in Curving Texas here. Is the Ferrari driver. As you can see now in the background, Toes Rudy is going to be overtaken here by Romeo Alonso. Down the inside goes Romeo Alonso in that Alfa Romeo car. He's going to try and get the move done on Toes Rudy. They're going to be side by side heading into turn 2. This will swap to the inside line for the Toro Rosso driver, but he goes around the outside now. Goes Romeo Alonso, gets the move done. What a move there from the Alfa Romeo driver, now up into P8. He's going to try and catch up to the Ferrari in front of him of Crossy, who looks to be the fastest driver on track at the moment. So hopefully he can catch up to this front battle pack. He has Curving Texas in between himself and Zach Crichton, who is technically the rear of that battle pack. Well, you could really say it's actually Toddstar, but Zach's not really close to anyone at this stage. Try and find some other close battles here on track. It looks like Towel and Toes Rudy are starting to battle. As you can see, Towel has a very nice run here on the Toro Rosso in front of him. Plebs is also in this battle as well. He's just got that gap down to under a second. If Plebs gets a move done here on Towel, he will get himself up into the points paying positions. As you can see, Towel made a little error there, heading to the penultimate corner. So now, as we just spoke, Plebs now up into the points paying positions for Renault. He's trying to fight it back though, his Towel. Will he be able to get the job done? He's not going to have the traction in that McLaren car. Oh. So now he's going to be back down at P11 after that little error through the penultimate corner. Super 90k Pi MP12 as well for Red Bull, leading down the race. Dr. Dre, Jay Schmidt and BK will round out the grid. BK's got 4 seconds between himself. So 29 seconds between himself and Jay Schmidt at the moment. So potentially towards the end of the race, BK could be a lap car. So BK was leading at the end of turn 1. And unfortunately he's at the rear of the grid now. Extra Evolution now has actually lost a bit of time now to 40. 40's just outside of a second range. So 40's actually starting to pull now from Aaron, but Toddstar is just struggling to keep up with Aaron. Toddstar is just struggling to catch up to Aaron's gearbox. But now Jay Schmidt, I believe, is the first penalty we've seen so far. As you can see, Aaron's made a little error there. 3-second penalty for Jay Schmidt down in P15 in that racing point. Obviously, that's not going to affect him unless he gets 30 seconds worth of penalties. That's not going to affect him at this stage. So Toddstar really needs to start pushing here to try and catch up to Aaron. Aaron's running at 90% ERS at the moment, so I'm surprised that he's not really catching up to this front battle pack of 40 and Extra Evolution. But they now start lap 15 of 35, 20 laps remain in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Plevs has now got ahead of Toes Rudy as well. This is for the battle of P9. He's going to go down the inside of turn 1. We have seen Plevs make a couple of maneuvers here. Seems to be a strong point around the racetrack, and it looks like the Renault driver now has got himself up into P9. So at this stage, he will take home 2 points for Renault, his teammate up in P6 at the moment, who will be wanting a good result here this afternoon. But it looks like Crossy's actually reeled it in massively. So it is now Ferrari versus Renault for P6 in this Grand Prix. You see Curving Texas struggling and put the gas down. So now head through the chicane. Normally you want to jump over those curbs and floor the gas, but unfortunately you can't really do that in the wet conditions. As you can see, Crossy pretty much pushing Curving Texas at the moment as they head through the second sector. Will he be able to get the job done? I think he'll be trying to set it up for turn 1 potentially. Is Crossy. As they now head into the final sector of the Hungaroring. Will Crossy be able to make a move here? He's going to have a nice run here on Curving Texas. Texas doesn't seem to be defending it heading into turn 1, so he's not too worried about giving up this position because Crossy's clearly faster than him. He's reeled him in from around 3, 4, 5 seconds. So Crossy now gets himself up into the top 6. His eyes are now on Zach Crichton in front of him. He's got 11 seconds he's got to try and make up. So if I was Curving Texas, I'd try and just keep with Crossy here and try and potentially get a move, or just keep with him. As now Jay Schmidt retired from the session. So unfortunately for the racing boy, actually he's retired in the pit. So unfortunately for himself, he's not going to be finishing the Hungarian Grand Prix here this afternoon. So that makes it the 3rd retirement from the Grand Prix. 40's now just under a second between himself and Revolution in front. You see Zach Crichton in the background there, pretty much running all the way off onto the runoff area. So we'll have to see if Zach Crichton catches up here. So it's 2.7 at the moment. There's another yellow flag. I believe that's Dr. Dre, if I'm correct. It is Dr. Dre. So unfortunately he spun out on the exit of the chicane. He won't lose a spot to BK because there's 45 seconds between them two. So BK's heading through turn 2 at the moment, and Dre's heading through the second sector, about to cross into the 3rd sector. So unfortunately for Dre, he was looking good to take some points home this afternoon, but he's now dropped all the way back down to P15. As now that was actually a Mercedes into the pit, so that was Zach Crichton. So into the pit lane, he's the first driver to react to the pit stops. So I think he'll be trying to go to the end here. He must have been really struggling on that set of compounded set of wet tyres. So he comes out just behind Plevs in this battle pack. For P8, Romeo Alonso, sorry, not Romeo Alonso. Very Lazy Tail and Toes Rudy are going to go side by side heading into turn 2. McLaren with the inside line. Do they make contact? I think they do. So now Toes Rudy will have the inside line for this next right-hander, sorry. But he does get the switchback done, does Very Lazy Tail, but it will still be Toes Rudy's inside line, and he's going to hold on now by the looks of it. Is the Toro Rosso driver. You don't really want to be going side by side in the wet conditions, and now Plevs trying to get a move done here. He obviously has Zach Crichton now going down his inside, heading into the chicane. Now they go. So now Zach Crichton now up into P10. Zach was... So I think what Zach's plan was here was to try and get out in some fresh air. Well, he was in fresh air, but just try and undercut potentially some drivers or catch up to him a little bit more. But now Extra Evolution into the pit lane. 40 stays out, Aaron stays out, and Toddy stays out. So that's interesting. That's an interesting strategy here from Extra Evolution and Zach Crichton. Does Crossy come into the pits? No, he stays out for an extra lap. So does Curving Texas. Romeo Alonso into the pit lane. Do we see any of these drivers pulling off into the pits? It looks like Toes Rudy is, and so is Very Lazy Tail. So they all follow him in. Plevs is staying out. Obviously, he did make that pit stop on lap 1, so he will have somewhat fresher tyres compared to the others. So now Zach and Plevs have all gone up a couple of positions. Zach into P7 and Plevs into P8. Banana Pie finally into the points paying positions now into P9. And Dan the Racer into P10. Toes Rudy into the pit lane as we just saw there. So is Tal and Romeo Alonso. So we'll have to see where 40 and Extra Evolution, sorry, yeah, where 40 comes out compared to Extra Evolution, because obviously 40 staying out for a little bit longer compared to Zach and Revolution in that Ferrari car. So we'll have to see what he opts to do, if he pits this lap to respond or he stays out for a little longer on those wet tyres. 40's left the session! Our race leader has left the session, so he's unfortunately disconnected. So now this is going to hand the lead over to Aaron L3F4. So will Aaron come into the pit lane this lap? He doesn't, so now 40 into the pits. So that's very unfortunate now for 40. Hopefully he can join back. So now that moves Tots and Aaron into the lead of the Grand Prix. This will give him a little bit of time here to try and rejoin the session, as he is in the pits. As you can see, he has joined back, so I don't think it'll cost him too much time, but obviously we're not sure if that was when he ideally wanted to pit. You can see that's Extra Evolution passing him now. So Zach Crane actually goes fastest now with the 33.6, so he is improving now, is Zach Crane. He's starting to find the grip in that Mercedes car, but obviously Aaron and Tots still lead the way. These two have been locked together for quite some time now. Toddy looks like he's been a bit quicker than Aaron, but unfortunately just hasn't been able to get the job done. It is very hard to overtake around the Hungarian, as we have pointed out several times already. On lap 19 of 35. 16 laps remain in the Grand Prix. Will we see our race leaders in this lap? Sorry, I just got a notification saying the stream was lagging. I don't know why. But anyway. So they do stay out for another lap. So they're going to start lap 20 now on these set of tyres. Is Tots and Aaron. I'm not too sure. Are they trying to go to the end even? Could be interesting to see. But Crossy's now up in a P3 for Ferrari. So he's doing a mega job. Revolution's obviously going to be a bit quicker than him here due to the fresher tyres. But will we see Crossy, Tots and Aaron try and stick it out now? Revolution, the first driver into the 1 minute 32s here this afternoon, as we just saw or witnessed him go fastest. Yellow flag in sector 2. I think that's BK again, and it is, so unfortunately for him, he spun out, I believe, on that auto spin curve, so he's actually about to be lapped now by Aaron and Tots. So he's going to have to get out of the way. So he went from leading the Grand Prix to being lapped now, has BK. 15 laps remaining in the Grand Prix as well. So is Revolution catching up to Crossy? He definitely is, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see the top three actually stay out here. There's another yellow flag. I think that's BK again. So could we see a safety car now? BK spun around multiple times here this afternoon. He's really struggling. Unlike his teammate at the moment, he's somehow found a bit of pace in that Mercedes car. He's started to pull away now from Plevs. Very Lazy Town now has got himself a 3-second penalty. So only 2 drivers, I believe, have got themselves 3-second time penalties so far in this race. So all the drivers are doing a really good job to keep within the track limits. And now Zach Crane, 3-second penalty. So as we were just speaking about the drivers managing their penalties very well, Zach Crane, a potential race contender here, winner contender here this afternoon, has just pretty much blown it with a 3-second penalty. As now 40 goes fastest down in P5. This battle is still not over, but I think that these two are going to stay out for the remainder of the Grand Prix. And now Crossy and Revolution are going to go side by side. Heading into turn 2, they go. Revolution outside line. We haven't got the best camera angle here, but it looks like Crossy will have the inside line, but it will swap to Extra Evolution's inside line. He goes around the outside. Does Extra Evolution into P3. He goes for McLaren. Nice maneuver there. Now Crossy has his teammate right behind him at 40. I don't think these two will hold each other up too much, but I think the Ferraris need to just bring home the cars for some solid points. As you can see, Crossy lets him through. Into P4, 40 goes. So if Crossy can come home P5 here this afternoon. I think that'll be a pretty good result here for Ferrari, and it definitely will move them up, I believe, into the lead of the constructors' standings. So these two do stay out again. So yeah, I really think they are going to stay out for the remainder of the Grand Prix. They could potentially even win this Grand Prix, could Aaron. I believe he hasn't. Aaron has not had a win this season. Toddy hasn't either. Toddy came really close to it at the French Grand Prix. I said we had like 4 different lead changes in the last lap of the French Grand Prix. If you want to go check that race out, you can go look at the PS4 Pacific Series Tier 1 Season 2 playlist on the Race Spec F1 Esports YouTube channel. Speaking about the YouTube channel, I think I've said it already, but thank you guys so much for 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel. It's been a massive achievement for the whole Race Spec community. Thank you guys so much for it. Support has been unreal in the last couple of months. See, Toddy looks like he's starting to put Aaron under a little bit more pressure now. He's really caught up to the gearbox. He's been sitting at around that 0.6 of a second between himself and Aaron, just trying to find where Aaron's weaker compared to him, so he can try and set up a maneuver. But he looks like he's really caught up to the back of that Red Bull car. He may potentially see a move into turn 1 now. Obviously no DRS assistance, as it is not ideal conditions for them. Will we see a move here from the Williams driver? You see Aaron's really struggling on traction, but so is Toddy. You see he's Tokyo drifting through the penultimate corner, so that's really hurt his chances here of making a move into turn 1. He's lost a lot of time. He lost around 6/10 of a second there to the race leader of Aaron, so that's really not going to hurt his rear tyres either. He's going to have to try and cool them down a little bit more now. Is Todster. Lap 23 of 35, 12 laps remaining in the Grand Prix. This is the battle for the lead, and these two are actually pulling away now, I believe, from Extra Evolution and 40, so I don't think these two are going to catch up, but Crossy may start to get a bit of pressure from Zach Crichton from behind. Zach obviously on a fresh set of tyres as well. You see his oversteer. Just an acceleration there on the exit of turn 2 as he headed through turn 3. So I think Zach will catch up to Crossy here and get the move done, to be honest. I think they'll move him up into P5, and I think Plebs, I reckon Crossy will be able to hold on to P6, to be honest. We'll have to see how that goes for them. But Aaron's under immense, and a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure at the moment from Todster. As they head through the final sector into the final corner, they go. Banana cake by 3-second penalty down in P13. He's not had the best of races in that Red Bull car. Now, will Toddy be close enough this lap round? It doesn't look like it. 0.8 of a second separate them two. So unfortunately, he's not gonna get the move done this time around. Let me know in the live chat as well. Obviously, I've said it a few times, but Miku, ACW, Chris, let us know your top 3 predictions, and everyone else watching the stream. Sorry, well, not even your top 3 predictions. If you just want to say who you reckon is going to win the Grand Prix out of Aaron and Todster. It's going to be a tight battle between the Red Bull and the Williams team. See Toddy setting purple sectors there, trying to catch up to Aaron's car. So I think their tyres will be starting to go off now, so it will be down to who can manage their tyres the best, so they can really pounce towards the end of the Grand Prix. See Toddy just wheel spun a little bit off on that curb there. It's going to hurt him a little bit down that short straight as he now heads into the second sector chicanes. Well, second sector S, as we can call it. No real other battles out on track. It looks like Zach Crichton's now got within a second to Crossy. This is the only other battle really on track at the moment. It's for the battle of... Sorry, this is for P5 in this Grand Prix. It's 40 is also still trying to catch up to Extra Evolution. This is the battle for P3 in this Grand Prix. So it looks like it's going to be between these two for the lead of the Grand Prix of Aaron and Toddster. And then for the podium, I reckon it's going to be Extra Evolution and 40. And then for P5, it will be Crossy and Zach Crumb. But I think Crossy is going to really struggle here to hold on to Zach. Obviously, Zach is on the fresher tyres, so he will have a little bit more grip compared to those worn wets that Ferrari car currently has on them. But Aaron's actually started to pull a gap here now. So ACW reckons Aaron's going to win the Grand Prix. Kind of responded to there a bit, ACW. He's started to pull a bit of a gap now between himself and Toddster. 7/10 of a second now separate the two race leaders. There's yellow flag. Who's that for? It's BK again. Will keep up with this battle for the lead of the Grand Prix, which will go back down to Zach Crichton. He's actually lost a bit of time now to Crossy, so Crossy might be able to hold on here to P5. We'll have to see what he's able to do. As they now head into the second sector. Go our leaders. Quick rundown through your order as there's 10 laps remaining in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Aaron L3F4 leads away at the moment. 6/10 of a second separate himself and Toddster. Extra Evolution in P3 at the moment ahead of the Ferraris of 40 and Crossy. Zach Crichton in P6, P7 Plebs, P8 Dan the Racer, P9 Romy Alonso, and rounding out your top 10 will be Curving Texas. So he's unfortunately dropped off massively here as Texas, so I'm not too sure if Texas actually pitted or not, but he's going to have to try and catch up to Romy Alonso. He was looking good for a potential top 7 here this afternoon, but unfortunately that really hasn't worked out for him. Very Lazy Tail in P11, who's trying to put the pressure on Texas in front. P11, sorry, P12, Toes Rudy. P13, this is teammate of Banana Cake Pie, as you can see, doing a little bit of lawn mowing there. P14, Dr. Dre. P15, BKXI. And unfortunately, 3 retirements and 1 disconnection from the Grand Prix. Retirements being Schmidt, Hawk, and Breno. So both the Haas is out yet again, so they will not score any points here. Gunter is really not going to be happy with his drivers. And unfortunately for the Gaming Burger, he has disconnected from the Grand Prix. But Aaron's actually lost a little bit of time now to Toddster in front, so it's back down to under 5/10 of a second between our two leaders. They are about to start lap 27 of 35 in this Grand Prix. Banana Cake Pie now gets himself another 6-second time penalty down in P13. So he will hold on to P13 at the stage because Dr. Dre's 26 seconds behind him. But I want to quickly have a look while nothing's really happening on track to see how everyone's going for warnings. So Aaron currently has no warnings. Toddster currently has no warnings. Extra Evolution currently has no warnings. 40 has no warnings. And Crossy has 1, 2... So Crossy's on his last warning, so that could hurt him a little bit. Zach Crichton, I believe, has a 3-second time penalty. He does. So if Crossy ends up getting passed by Zach Crichton here, he can obviously just stay within 3 seconds of that Mercedes driver, and he will hold on to that P5. And you see Aaron's made an error now. So our race leader made a little error there heading through the chicane. I'm not too sure. I think that definitely would have given him a warning for corner cutting. So now Toddster is going to realise that and realise that Aaron's starting to crack it under pressure a bit now. Only a few laps remaining in this Grand Prix. They're about to start lap 28. Of 35 in the Hungarian Grand Prix. No real other battles on track at the moment. 40 still holding it around that 1 second mark, but Zach Crichton's trying to catch up to the rear of Crossy again. Romy Alonso's actually caught up to Dan the Racer now, so this is a little tight battle for P8 in this Grand Prix. We'll have to see how this plays out. Obviously, Banana Cake Pie is caught up to his sister teammate of Toes Rudy in that Toro Rosso. But he does have 6 seconds worth of penalties he will have to owe at the end of the Grand Prix. So That's really going to hurt him. So I don't know why Tots is not using his ERS at the moment. He really needs to try and catch up to Aaron. Yeah, but Aaron's also got a bunch of ERS as well. He's up at 94%, and Toddy is at 82%. So they're both not doing too bad when it comes to ERS management. You see Toddy's right up his gearbox at the moment. As you see, he's nearly pushing him. At the moment is Toddy. This is where Aaron made that little error on the previous lap. He manages to get it right this time round. They're about to start as they now head into the final sector. Go our race leaders. So now, actually, I've missed this little battle here. Zach Crimes now finally got ahead of Crossy as well. Dr. Dre into the pit lane again, so he might even try and go for fastest lap here. We've seen Dre do this a couple of times. Come into the pits towards the end of the Grand Prix, just take that fastest lap off the driver in the top 10. 90k prize, another 3-second penalty, so he's really racking up his penalties here this afternoon's Banana. Up to 9 seconds now for the Red Bull driver. Go back to this battle as well between Romeo Alonso and Dan. Starting to spice up. 32.7 now, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so he is starting to catch up to Revolution. As he now goes down the inside, goes Romeo Alonso. Will he get the move done? The Williams manages to keep the traction going. They're gonna go side by side through the penultimate corner now. Is the Alfa Romeo and the Williams. They're still side by side. Heading through the final sector, through the final corner they now go. And he cuts him off there to stay in the race. So now up into P8. Goes down the racer. Romeo Alonso will need to try and catch back up to that Williams car. Obviously down the racer will want to score some good points here for Williams here this afternoon. But he made a little error heading through the turn 1. So that's going to give Romeo Alonso another invitation down the inside. He's actually going to swap to the outside now. Will he be deeper under brakes? He might even try and do the switch back here on the Williams. No, he doesn't. So the Williams of down the race did a nice job there to pull that car up. So hopefully Williams can get a double points finish here this afternoon with Dan in P8 and Tots in P2, and potentially could even win this Grand Prix. As he runs really wide there, does Dan, so this is going to let and Romeo Alonso go around the outside. Did they make contact? Nearly do. It's very easy to make contact in these wet conditions, and Romeo Alonso around the outside on the Williams. So now he gets himself up into P8, does the Alfa Romeo driver. Nice move there from himself. Tao now got himself a 3-second penalty. He's at the rear of this little battle pack. Curving Texas is caught up as well, so he's going to want to move up a couple more positions here. So is Tao. So at the moment, potential driver of the day. I reckon Crossy's done a pretty good job here this afternoon. He's definitely been one of the stars of the race. We will be trying to get a top 3 interview, post-race interview as well with our podium getters, so stay tuned for that as well after the race. This battle still goes on. 5 laps remain in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Finally set it right. This has been the battle pretty much for all race. Toddy's just unfortunately not been able to get a move done on Aaron, but you never know. Toddy could be sandbagging a little bit here. Aaron's on 100% ERS and Toddy's on 50. So Aaron's done a really good job at the moment to try and save his ERS at this stage, I'll admit. But I think he should start using it a little bit now towards the end of the Grand Prix. Yellow flag in Sector 2. I think that's just the local yellow. Can't see anyone stopped on the mini-map on the right-hand side of your screen. But obviously, Toddy's been Mr. Consistent. I'll admit that. He's probably been the most consistent driver in this league. Well, in this particular league. He's been consistently in the top 5. So that's why he's obviously MP2 at the moment for the standings. Now I'll read out your results now for Todster. So Toddy's results have been a DNF at Australia, an 11th in Bahrain, 6th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 5th, 3rd. So that's pretty consistent. Unfortunately for the first 2 rounds, he didn't have the best of results, but he's 71 points at the moment behind Zach Crichton. Zach's currently on 190 and Toddy's on 119, but we just saw that Aaron get another little curb hop there. We're going to have a quick look real quick to see if he's got another warning. He's been pushing pretty hard towards the end of this Grand Prix. He actually hasn't had a warning, so he didn't even get a warning for when he ran off the track through that chicane. So that's very surprising that the game didn't think he gained any advantage. But anyway, can't argue with the stewards. This battle for P3 still continues on as well between 40 and X Revolution. Aaron and Toddy are about to start lap 32 of the Grand Prix. Zach is now starting to pull out a couple of seconds between himself and Crossy. Crossy needs to stay within 3 seconds to make sure he secures that P5 to Zach Crichton. Plev's in P7 as well. He's done a pretty good recovery drive after that lap 1 incident. So he's done a really good job, has a Renault driver. It's kind of the driver up the most spots. Is very lazy tail. He did start from the rear of the grid. He's up into P10 now, so he'll be taking a point home this afternoon for McLaren. Curving Texas obviously in P9 and Romy Alonso in P8. Dan the Racer down in P11. P12 Toes Rudy. So Curving Texas and Taylor both managed to get ahead of Dan the Racer while we were watching the front pack. So Romy Alonso now will be Curving Texas's next target, but he's actually got a pretty nice gap at the moment as Romy. So I think Texas is, well, the bigger worry for Texas at the moment is very lazy tail behind him. As you can see, he got a little bit sideways heading into turn 1. Did Curving Texas. Sorry. I've been a little bit sick of it recently. It's probably not the most ideal time to be sick, but my throat's been a little bit sore, so it's not ideal to be commentating on, but anyway. Aaron will now start lap 33 of 35. 3 laps remaining for the Red Bull driver. Obviously, Toddster's still right there. He's managed to gain a little bit more ERS now, has Toddy. So if I was Aaron, I'd really start using my ERS now. He's only running in low, so I think he's unnecessarily saving at this stage, if I was to be honest. As they head into the second sector. Go our leaders. Extravolution's definitely reeled in these front 2, but unfortunately just making that pit stops has really costed him. He didn't need to make a stop in this Grand Prix, obviously. 40, MP4, P5, Zach Crichton. And unfortunately for Crossy, that gap's extended now to over 3 seconds, so he will not take P5 home this afternoon. Plevs is actually really catching him up here. So he's going to have to start pushing a bit now as Crossy. Obviously, I'm not too sure. Did Plevs make a pit stop? We'll quickly check for you. Plebs has made a pit stop, but so has Crossy, so I don't think Crossy... Actually, no, Crossy made an early stop, I believe, so... Oh, but so did Plebs. It's pretty even between these two, but Plebs is definitely catching up to Crossy at the moment. As Todd and Aaron are about to start their penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, lap 34 of 35. When they cross the line, Toddy really needs to chuck it up in a hot lap here. You see Aaron's finally done it. He's up in no overtake. Back down to none. Toddy needs to keep it in the hot lap so he can get a nice run on that Red Bull in front of him. Obviously, it will be very easy to collide between these two as well, considering these wet conditions. It's been full wet for the entirety of the Hungarian... I did it again. Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm not even doing it intentionally. It's like... I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's just the way I open my mouth. When I say hung, I just have my... I don't know. Anyway. So I feel like I feel like Tots is a little bit quicker through the first and second sector, but Aaron just is faster where he needs to be through that final sector, and he gets a run through that final complex of corners, and he's just able to defend it from Tots behind. Both these drivers really need to start using their ERS. Obviously, Aaron's on 100% at the moment, and Toddy's on 76. So, Revolution and 40 look like this battle may potentially even be settled here. Another battle that hasn't been settled is between Very Lazy Tail and Curving Texas, so we'll have to see how those two go. Toes Rudy, Dan the Racer, and Banana Cake Pie are in a little battle as well. This is for P11 in this Grand Prix. Obviously, no points available for any of these drivers, but now Aaron and Todsa start the final lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Aaron's got that gap out to 0.8 of a second. And Toddy's really struggling to put that gas pedal down, as you saw. Aaron runs a little bit wide through turn 3, but he gets back to that apex. So if Aaron could just hold on here and not get any time penalties or make any errors, I think he'll be right to win this Grand Prix. This little battle here seems like that's ended as well. So Extra Evolution, if he can hold on as well, he should hold on to P2. So P3 in this Grand Prix. As they now head through the second sector, through the S's. So unfortunately for Crossy as well, down in P6 as well. He's not going to be able to get P5 in this race. But now, you can see Toddy. I think he kind of knows now that he's not going to be able to get this. He's actually really deep under brakes here. Will we see a potential dive bomb here from Toddy? It's not really close enough. I think he just needs to bring it home. I think Toddy's going to be, or Toddy is the most consistent driver without a win so far. But Aaron, through the final corner of the Hungara ring, Aaron, for the first time this season, and Red Bull's first time this season, he will win a Grand Prix. Aaron L3F4 is the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Todster will come home P2 for Williams. Extra Evolution will come home P3 for McLaren ahead of 40. Zach Crun will come home P5, giving us a little bit of a drift there through the final corner. Crossy will come home P6 for some really good points for Ferrari, and I believe they will move to the top of the constructors standings. Plebs, really good recovery drive here from the Renault driver. He'll come home P7 ahead of Romy Alonso as he now heads to the penultimate corner. But we're going to go back here to this battle between Curving Texas and Tao. Tao made a little error there, so I don't think he's going to get the move done on Curving Texas, unless Texas makes an error through this final corner. Looks like the Renault driver is going to come home for some nice points here this afternoon. Romy Alonso will come home P8 across the line. Curving Texas P10. He's actually lost time here. Texas got a penalty in the end. So Tao will now be promoted up to P9. Curving Texas down to P10. Will Banana Cake Pie getting the points? No, he doesn't. He just misses out. He got ahead of Dan the Racer in the end there as well, I believe. Actually, no, Banana dropped down to P13, so he beat him on track, but unfortunately, I think Dan got himself back up a couple positions there. But congratulations to Aaron L3F4 on taking his maiden win in the PS4 Pacific Series and Red Bull's first win. Congratulations to him. We're going to read out your your provisional results here for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we'll try and get your top 3 into the party. I don't believe Revolution has a mic, so we'll try and invite 40. But anyway, Aaron L3F4 wins the Hungarian Grand Prix, taking on 25 points here this afternoon for Red Bull. Williams will come home P2 with Todd ahead of Extra Evolution and P3 for McLaren. P4 will be 40 for Ferrari. P5 Zach Crine. P6 Crossy F1. Nice result there from the Ferrari team, as I said before. The Renault all plebs in P7, P8 Romy Alonso, P9 Very Lazy Tail, and rounding at your top 10 will be Curving Texas. So both Renaults taking home some nice points here this afternoon as well. But I definitely think driver of the day will have to go to Crossy, to be honest. He did a really nice job. He looked like he was very quick in that second stint. He was just making some very nice passes in these tricky conditions. So he's going to be my driver of the day for this afternoon. Down the race then P11, P12 Toes Rudy. P13 in the end will be Banana Cake Pie. P14 Dr. Dre, and unfortunately for BK, he went a lap down, so did Dr. Dre. And unfortunately the retirement's been Schmidt, F1 Hawk, and Breno in this Grand Prix. But we're going to swap this over to this scene real quick, and we'll try and get the drivers into a party real quick for you guys. We'll be back with you shortly. Stay tuned. So here we have our top two here from the PS4 Pacific Series Hungarian Grand Prix. I've done it again. Hungarian Grand Prix. Todd Sen, Aaron L3F4. Congratulations, guys, on your results. Obviously, we'll start with you, Aaron, leading the... Didn't seem like you were going to win the race until the last stint when we saw Extra Evolution and the other front runners of 40 and... was it Extra Evolution and 40? You were sitting in P3, I believe, before the pit stops came out. Yeah, so
it was those two in front.
It didn't look like you were going to win the race until then, but were you always going to stay out the whole race, or were you intending to make a pit stop?
At the start of the race, I was definitely going to make a pit stop. I didn't think that I'd make it at all. And then the safety car came out, and I was very gingerly on the tyres. I just didn't use them at all throughout the safety car. And I thought, I'll evaluate on that 12, I think it was, and I'll see how my tyres are then. And if they're fine, then yeah, I'll go to the end.
Yeah, so obviously you did stay at the end. And was that your plan as well, Todd? Were you going to stay out towards or to the end of the Grand Prix, or did you always... were you planning to make a pit stop?
I was planning to stop as well, but then we got to about lap 15, and I looked at my tyres, and they were only on about 30 odd percent, and I thought, I'll just send it, see how it goes, and it paid off.
I mean, you've kind of earned your name, my English on him. You've kind of earned a name for yourself here, Todd, so being Mr. Consistent in this league, but unfortunately just haven't been able to get yourself onto the top step of the podium yet. So when will it be done? Unfortunately, wasn't able to get a move done here on Aaron this afternoon. Were you trying to make a move, or next week? Okay, we'll see what happens. Hopefully you can get it onto the top step. I'm not too sure when the next...
Full of shit.
Okay. So what's the next race? I'm going to have a quick look for you. It is...
It's Belgium.
So, any quick there, Tony?
I won't be, don't worry. No.
Fair enough. Thank you guys so much for joining the party for some post-race interviews. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream as well for the Race Spec F1 Esports PS4 Hungarian Grand Prix. My words right now are atrocious. But thank you guys for joining. My name is Expert, and I'll see you guys next time.